But he said that he specifically worked with Matt Pierpont to work through some things. And he's the new Cardinals director of pitching, was hired this offseason, referred to Pierpont being a really, really smart guy. They made just a small tweak on the grip, something as simple as that. And he says it makes all the difference in the world.
Huh. I mean, Bern, that's what we've been talking about, right? Guys getting fixed and finding a way to take something that isn't working and make it work.
Yeah, and I don't want to like overreact to it, but the thing of it is, I have so much respect for the people that Rob Cerfolio and Chaim Bloom have brought in, because the Cardinals in the past, as we know, at times have not always been able to get some of their young pitchers to make those adjustments or whatever. So I like hearing that stuff. I like hearing, what Roycroft had to say about how they really helped them. I mean, the Cardinals need a lot of those kind of stories to help some of their young pitchers down in the farm.
Look, where we're at right now with this team is that a lot of the stuff that's going on in the background and in the infrastructure, we're not going to see the fruits of those labors for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So when there is something that happens, and again, I'm putting the cart in front of the horse right now. Chris Roycroft has to go out. The sinker has to look good. He has to become much more effective. All those things have to end up happening. He feels confident about that. If it does, then this is going to be one of those times where we can sit here and say, okay, here's a direct result of something the Cardinals did in the offseason, one of the investments that they made in human capital, where it's paying out and it's helping players become the best version of themselves.
Right. We don't know the outcome, but how many times have we heard people in sports say process over results? Because the process was wrong before. The process wasn't in place. And this is the right process. Now we have to see if it works, right? You can say that with somebody's offensive game plan. Well, what are you doing? Did it work today? No, but maybe you lined out a couple of times and you had a couple good at-bats, or you laid off a pitch you've been trying to lay off of. There's a lot more to things than results, because results tell us what happened, but the process in place will help you get more of those over the long term.
And listen, we know Roycroft has got talent.
Yeah.
There's a lot to work with there. So I think that who knows? I'm hoping the best for the guy, because I like him, and I think his potential is obvious.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us are trying to blow up what Chris Roycroft and Roddery Munoz mean to this team, but the process is one thing, but also, guys, they're finally here in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I shouldn't say finally, maybe that's the wrong term when we're just getting into May, but they're using that shuttle to freshen up arms, right? Because Roycroft hasn't pitched in a few days. I looked this up earlier. I don't think he's pitched since April 27th, so he's rested. Munoz, I think, has thrown a third of an inning in the last 2 or 3 days. So they're doing what they talked about, what Ali talked about specifically, in making sure that they have the fresh arms that they're going to need, because we're always talking about not blowing out the guys you need.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I guess that I would think that one of the reasons they were holding those guys back was because they knew they were going to have to rotate them in and send some people down to Memphis. So they got to use the shuttle smartly, and I think they are so far. They might have waited a little long to get Fernandez back to Memphis, but hey, I can understand they were trying to fix him.
And there is always the issue with, guys can only go up and down so many times during the year. So you try to decide, okay, is this the moment that we want to use one of our up downs on these guys? But, the goal with Roycroft was always for him to get back up sooner than later.
Right.
And, specifically to these two guys, Bernie, I can remember back in spring training and you asking me, hey, who are the guys you've been most impressed with in spring? And I mentioned Roycroft and I mentioned Munoz. Like, these are two guys that I'm really high on. I don't know how effective they're going to be right now. Me being high on them is more about them continuing to develop into something, but I'm excited. And it's swing and miss. Kevin, how often do you bring it up?
All the time.
They need more swing and miss.
Yeah, more velo.
And now to have these two guys, they bring swing and miss along with them.
Yeah, it's not a secret, guys. Your best reliever is Ryan Helsley. Your best reliever is Ryan Helsley because he throws 100. If Ryan Helsley threw 92, he wouldn't be as effective. He'd still be a major league pitcher, right? But he wouldn't be a major league closer. He wouldn't be the dominant guy that we saw last year. And then we have so just finishing up on the bullpen conversation, he's a guy that's not getting a lot of work. And I don't know, Bern, where you can force spots, but at some point they need to be either more aggressive in a different spot or just get him in. Because when your closer's going 3-4 days without working, you do get some rust when they get in there.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I've been kind of on a soapbox about this because I know Ollie's policy, and I know in a perfect world he would be able to hold back Ryan Helsley for safe situations, but it's not a perfect world. It's very imperfect because of the setup relief has been so inconsistent, and you can't. There are times you can pick your spots, and you can put him into a tie game in the 7th inning, the 8th inning. And you hope, okay, he'll hold it down for an inning rather than a setup guy giving up 3 runs. And then, you turn it back to your offense. Or if you're at home, they would get the last at bat and maybe someone hits a home run. I mean, but no, you're so right. You cannot let him sit there. Listen, his performance numbers this year compared to last year are really down. And I think it's not because of anything physical. I think he's just not sharp. I mean, his strikeout rate is down. His walk rate is way up.
Yeah.
The hard hit rate is way up. And it's not because he's losing his ability, but you do lose your ability when you're sitting around for days.
Yeah.
So
yeah, fastball velo is still in the top 2%, 3% in baseball. So obviously,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I need to go look at this, but so this is just me feeling something. I don't know if it's going to be backed up or not. It really feels like anytime he has 3 or 4 days off, first guy or two he faces, he's issuing a walk. Like there's always a runner on via walk, either with no outs or 1 outs with Helsley if he's had 3 or 4 days off. So it's the easy fix to this is go win more games and have some more
get better
situations.
Production from other guys too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his usage is important.
Absolutely.
Wait, one thing really, really quick. Last year, I won't give you the numbers. It's in a column I just put up a little while ago at sportshubstl.com. Last year, the Cardinals played a lot of games that were tied after 6th inning, after 7, after even 8, even after 9. They had an excellent record in those games because their bullpen was so good. They didn't need Helsley to come in earlier.
Right.
But now this year, when they're tied in those scenarios I just called, they have a terrible record because they're not winning the bullpen battle. And this would tell me it actually makes sense to use Helsley in tie games in the 7th or 8th inning.
That's Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on the Redbird Rush Hour. We got a lot more baseball coming your way. Hang tight. We're going to go through a little bit of traffic, get you an update, and get back to our baseball talk here on your home for the Cardinals, KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, if you're coming in for any of our sporting events, including the Cards tonight, it doesn't look terrible yet. This traffic reports the service of Metro Transit. Eastbound 64, though, is backed up from 94 all the way to the Boone Bridge in that construction zone. It's bumper to bumper. And then it's east of Lindbergh into Big Bend, pretty heavy. South 170 bogs down at Ladue. Eastbound Highway 70 drivers, you've got the heaviest traffic from 5th Street into 270. We had a crash on the right shoulder just past our city, by the way. Westbound 64, Science Center out to McCausland, slow. A little busy at Topgolf, slow approaching Wing Haven, and then 364 out to 70. Westbound Highway 70, the bulk of the volume is Lake St. Louis, out past Highway 61. South 270 is cleared out. South 55 is cleared out. Westbound 44 past the bridges downtown, slow. Westbound 64 from the 70 split to the Poplars, heavy. And Route 3 at Monsanto got a train crossing. Northbound's jam back to almost Judith. Southbound's almost back to the Poplar. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Metro Transit.
We are Metro Transit. We don't just help ourselves and our neighbors get where we need to be. We help our whole region get where we want to be. Get on board at rideonmetro.org.
All right, guys, let me tell you about Game Day Men's Health, which you can find, by the way, at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. You can also find them in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. What I'm talking about here is not complicated. If you don't feel right, if you wish you had more energy, whether it's just in the gym, in the bedroom, wherever it happens to be, don't just deal with it. Don't be embarrassed. There's a solution. You just have to seek it out, and you can do that at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. So when I went in, my problem tends to be like just physical fatigue, right? Like I'm pretty good, like energy talking and all that, but yeah, my legs feel heavy and all that. And I've been in now for like 2.5 months with Game Day. That's gone. Heavy legs, gone. Workout, still rocking and rolling. And all I did was a quick blood test, simple consultation. You're there. They talk to you about what will work for you, and then they come up with a plan, and then that's what you roll with. So for me, testosterone replacement therapy was the play. My numbers were low. I didn't do that. I didn't make any mistakes. It's just the way it was. Now I don't have the problems that go along with that. So whatever your issues are, they have solutions for medical weight loss, ED treatments, whatever. Get into Game Day Men's Health. Everything's overseen by board-certified physicians. The staff are awesome, and they're trained experts in men's health. There's just no reason not to check them out. It's GameDayMen'sHealth.com, and get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health.
One of the best ways to find out about 3-Day Kitchen and Bath is actually to hear the results for yourself. On the phone with us is Wendy in Darwin. Wendy, you got a brand new bathroom.
I do, and it's beautiful.
Are you loving it?
I am absolutely loving it.
Okay, tell me about your bathroom.
It went from a dark room that felt like an absolute cave when I walked into it to a bright, airy, opened the space up. I mean, I don't know what else. It's just absolutely wonderful.
She's almost speechless. So, Darwin, tell me about all the man stuff. How did it work? The quality, the convenience. How did they do?
Excellent. We contacted 3-Day Bath, and they got back to us the next day. The communication was excellent. They were on time in all their promises, and it's beautiful. It's a great bathroom.
Would you do it again?
Oh, absolutely.
For more about your new kitchen or bath, visit 3daykitchen.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is coming back to St. Louis on May 7th. Join us at Energizer Park for the round of 32 as St. Louis City SC hosts Union Omaha and plays for the historic trophy. Get tickets now at stlcitysc.com/Open Cup.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, back in on the Redbird Rush Hour, 104.1 KMOX. You heard me talking about Game Day Men's Health. It's time for the Game Day Men's Health Peak Performer. Get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health. Guys, I want to talk about Sonny Gray for a second. You know, he's the guy that I'm choosing today. He's been obviously more than solid. He's been very good for the team since they signed him. Just overall, you know, would you guys say that we're getting what we would expect from Sonny Gray since the team signed him? Because I feel like we are, and I don't know that there's a lot more to demand physically yet until we get later in the season and kind of assess where things are, and maybe he can get deeper into games later on.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I've been pleased with Sonny Gray. I mean, I think they signed him when he was coming off a career year, but given his age, I think it was unrealistic to maybe expect him to hit that high of a note. But he's been a good pitcher. I think a lot of people are too hung up on classifications. Is he an ace?
Right.
Is he a number one starter? Just accept him for the performance that he gives you. And the performance is really good. If he's not an ace and if he's not a number one starter, that's not about him. That's about the people that are putting the club together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Great point.
Don't hold it against him.
Look, the numbers last year were good. 3.84 ERA, 203 strikeouts and 166 innings. That one of his better strikeout rates that he's ever had. I've actually been really pleased with him this year because of all my worries coming out of spring training. Sonny Gray might have been worry number, if John Mozeliak's, thing was, plans 1, 2, and 3 are to trade Nolan Arenado. Well, then my worries number 1, 2, and 3 might have been Sonny Gray because his velo is down.
Right.
He just didn't. And there are guys who have bad spring trainings, but all the underlying stuff with that looked bad for him as well. And then he just gets into the regular season and flips that proverbial switch. And to pitch how he has this year, 3.60 ERA, the numbers are good, 33 strikeouts, 35 innings, so about a strikeout per inning. I will absolutely take it. So is he matching what he did in Minnesota when he was a Cy Young finalist? No, the dude had 2.79 that year, but that was, like Bernie said, a career year. You look at who he is and a guy who's on the back end of his career now, so you would think that he's going to have something come off on an every year basis. I think Cardinals fans should be very happy with what they have in Sonny Gray.
Matt Pauley is at Busch Stadium. Bernie Miklasz is in, what do we call it again? I keep doing this every week, Bern. The Lair.
The Lair.
We're in the Lair. Baby. I'm in the studio with the glare because I'm in shadow. You can't see me. But we got things rolling on the Redbird Rush Hour. Stick around. We're going to talk offense and see if there's a solution for some of the Cardinals' DH problems. We'll get into that coming up here on the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames, because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster, which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame. And if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Join Lombardo Homes Saturday, May 17th for the grand opening of our newest decorated display at Autumn Hollow in Wentzville. Tour our beautifully designed display home, enjoy light appetizers on us, and experience firsthand the craftsmanship and style Lombardo Homes is known for. Current homeowners, come say hello and meet your future neighbors. Located just off Highway N, west of Hopewell Road, Autumn Hollow offers spacious home sites surrounded by natural beauty in the highly rated Wentzville School District. Visit LombardoHomes.com to learn more.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, if you're headed into town for any of our sporting events tonight, you've got heavy traffic eastbound 70 David Hochul into Wentzville Parkway. It's backed up from 5th Street into Earth City. It looks like they may be maybe at least partially blocking the right lane now for that crash just past 141. If you're on eastbound Highway 64, that's a solid jam east of K to the Boone Bridge, and then it's slow east of Lindbergh to about Big Bend. South 170 bogs down at Ladue. Going home, westbound 70, it looks like it's a good run to get west of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. It's slow out to 61. Westbound 64 Science Center and McCausland's busy. It's still bogged down from 364 all the way out to 70. South 270 just slow Olive to Ladue. Northbound 55, you got some heavy traffic running up from Bayless to Weber Road. If you're coming in that way, just be advised. And also eastbound 44 looks a little slow at Bowles. Westbound 44 jam between the bridges downtown, and westbound 64 from the 70 split to the Poplars heavy. Next update at 540 from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
At 5:31, we've got partly cloudy, 66 downtown at the Arch. St. Louis police are having phone trouble. The non-emergency number you'd find in the phone book, 314-231-1212, is not working. AT&T is working on the problem. A police department spokesman says callers should dial 911 if necessary, although that could result in temporarily longer wait times. The Tennessee Highway Patrol released video of the encounter with Kilmar Abrego Garcia in November 2022. He's the man deported to El Salvador, which a government lawyer said was by mistake. Garcia was pulled over in 2022 for speeding. He was questioned about the 8 people in his car. In the video, he says he's headed to a construction site in St. Louis. Take a listen.
You got a bunch of people in here, don't you?
It's one for shit. Yes. Go back to work.
Gotcha. Where are you working at? Where?
San Luis, Missouri.
Missouri? So where do y'all live at?
Where I live in? I live in Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah.
Garcia was ultimately let go with a warning for speeding. The price of a popular gaming console is going up.
Uncertainty amid President Trump's tariff hikes will be hitting video gamers and streamers right in the old Xbox. Microsoft says it's hiking the recommended retail price of their gaming systems by $80 to $100. The company didn't mention tariffs specifically, but cited wider market conditions and the rising cost of development. An Xbox Series S will go for $380 and the more powerful Series X for $600. Europe, the UK, and Australia will also see price adjustments. Last month, Sony raised its recommended PlayStation 5 pricing in some markets, and Nintendo's new Switch 2 costs $150 more than the old Switch console. I'm Jennifer King.
The rock band REM is putting out a special pressing of its first single, Radio Free Europe, to benefit the real Radio Free Europe. The government-funded service that broadcasts news to foreign markets has been targeted by President Trump's administration, which claims they promote a liberal viewpoint. A judge this week ordered the administration to restore $12 million in funding. REM singer Michael Stipe, who spent his high school years in Belleville, says sales of the band's 5-song EP will benefit Radio Free Europe. Another batch of late showers late tonight, otherwise just cloudy, low 51. For tomorrow, some showers and thunder showers. There will be dry time too, and a high of 61. And for Sunday, some sun, some showers with a high of 60. Right now, we've got 66 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. One question I'm always asked is, how did you become the largest injury firm in the world with over 1,000 attorneys and $25 billion in verdicts and settlements? One way was our financial strength. Medical malpractice is the third leading cause of death in America. To prosecute a typical case costs up to $250,000 in case cost. We advance them all. Product liability cases can have similar costs with an army of lawyers on the other side. Automobile insurance companies have the resources to fight. Guess what? So do we. Many law firms simply may not have the financial firepower to work up your case the way you deserve. And we don't charge by the hour. No recovery, no fee. If you have a question about your case or wish to become a client, go to forthepeople.com on your mobile device or computer. 24/7. It's that easy. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
The legendary Fast Eddie of Fast Eddie's Bon Air and Cardinals Hall of Famer Jason Isringhausen.
Hey, Izzy, what's going on, man? Looks kind of like you got something on your mind.
Well, Eddie boy, I'm thinking you may need to change the name of your place from Fast Eddie's to $5 Eddie.
$5 Eddie? Man, why in the world would I call it $5 Eddie?
Well, I was in there the other day and bought myself the coldest beer I've ever had in my life, and I gave the guy $5. And then I went over and got some of those huge cold water peel and eat shrimps, and I gave her $5.
Well, I never really thought about that. There's a lot of $5 going on in there.
And then I went back up and got one of those huge Fast Eddie cheeseburgers, and I gave them $5 again.
Man, definitely has a ring to it. I think there's a lot of $5 going on.
Yeah, and I had about $100 worth of good time.
Well, that's good to hear, and it's easy to do with live music 7 days a week and a big old party going on that big, beautiful outdoor patio.
Well, like Mr. Shannon always says, if you're 21 and in the mood, head on over to Fast Eddie's Bon Air in Alton, Illinois, and maybe take a selfie on that old Harley Davidson of mine.
Who else has got a Cardinal Hall of Famer's Harley Davidson sitting out on the patios for some selfies?
Only Eddie boy.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate. Paid for by Bayer.
Cardinals fans, there are more ways this season to watch your Cardinals on FanDuel Sports Network. For the first time, you can subscribe directly to FanDuel Sports Network and stream the Cardinals without blackouts. Monthly, seasonal, and annual packages available. Also new this season, you can stream FanDuel Sports Network through Amazon Prime Video with an add-on subscription. As always, you can watch FanDuel Sports Network through TV providers including DirecTV, Spectrum, Xfinity, Fubo, and more. Visit Cardinals.com/TV to learn more.
Tired of battling pests? At Rottler Pest Solutions, we offer year-round protection from termites, mosquitoes, moles, and more. With flexible scheduling and 24/7 support, we're always here when you need us. Visit Rottler.com today to schedule your free inspection.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. Our attorneys are committed to you, your business, and your community. We are ready to serve you in the areas of business litigation, intellectual property, health law, and products liability. SandbergPhoenix.com. The choice of lawyers is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, Redbird Rush Hour, 104.1 KMOX. Matt Pauley at the ballpark, Bernie in the lair, Kevin Wheeler in the shade. All right, we only have a couple minutes here before we do a quick check of traffic, but we can continue this on the other side of that because that's only going to be a 1 minute little break to see what's going on the roads. Let's move on to the DH, guys. We've been talking a lot about it. Bernie, you've done great research on it. Matt, you and I have talked about it too. Obviously, Ivan Herrera is getting closer to coming back. When he comes back, should he be a big part of the solution at DH? Should they go with 3 catchers on the roster, or should they just commit to, hey, when Herrera's not catching, he's DHing because we need that bat in there? Do you guys think that's even reasonable?
I'll be brief, and I'm curious what Matt has to say. I would go heavy with Herrera at DH because, number one, they don't have a DH, and their production at the DH position is an absolute embarrassment. A 202 average, no homers, 2 RBIs, a 239 slugging percentage. It is a huge void that's screaming for offense. And you have a very, very good defensive catcher in Pages. So why not put the guy that you know can hit and solve the DH problem, put him in there? I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
I'm not sure if 3 catchers is the answer just because of what's going to go on with the roster. Somebody's going to have to that's going to take a roster spot.
It would have to be Baker in that scenario.
Or Barrero.
Yeah, but you can't lose versatility because then you got 3 catchers and a big first baseman and nobody can play anywhere.
Yeah, but you got Brendan Donovan and he fixes so many of those problems on his own.
That's not enough.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It would have to be Baker, and that's maybe part of the conversation as we continue.
So all that is part of that. So I don't know if 3 catchers is the answer. I do. Eventually, I'd like that because I think at some point Jimmy Crooks is going to be ready, and I don't want him to be held back by the fact that you have Herrera and Pages on the roster. I want there to be a plan to be able to have all 3 of those guys on the roster if that's going to win the most games for you this year. So that's one side of it. Kevin, I know you disagree with this a little bit, but I would love to see a scenario where there's somebody who is the DH 3-4 times a week. That's your primary DH. And just let him be there and let him. And maybe that's Nolan Gorman. Maybe that's Ivan Herrera. I don't know who it is, but this whole thing of using the DH as an opportunity to give guys half days off, I don't think it's accomplishing anything.
Let's pick that up on the other side. So we get a quick check of the roadways, see what's going on in traffic. We'll pick up the DH talk after that here on Redbird Rush Hour.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, this traffic report's a service of the Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm. And if you're coming in for the Cardinals, or don't forget, we have the Blues and the Battlehawks tonight. Really busy downtown. It'll be a great night. Eastbound 70, though, you've got a backup from 5th Street into Earth City. They're trying to clear that earlier crash. If you're coming in on eastbound 64, that's a solid jam. East of Highway K, all the way to the Boone Bridge. It's slow east of Lindbergh to Big Bend. South 170 bogs down at the Parkway. Oh, and by the way, eastbound 64, just a little slowdown passing Van Eventer as well. I'm seeing that right now. Westbound 64 looks great. You don't have any delays till you get around Lake St. Louis Boulevard to 70. 70 just slow past 61. Northbound 55, another one on the way into town where you're picking up volume from Bayless up to Weber. Westbound 44 downtown. That's a solid jam between the bridges. Westbound 5570 slow at Exchange. It's a solid jam on 64 from the 70 split headed across the Poplar. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, it's Friday. It's the Redbird Rush Hour. Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Let's continue that, guys. Bernie, what did you think of the way Matt framed the DH situation? Because obviously they have 10 guys for 9 spots, and that's leading to a lot of moving around, including the DH spot.
I totally agree with my brother, Matt Pauley. It's been an annoyance for me that they use the DH as like just some kind of like, I don't know how to put it. So it's almost like a taxi squad. It's, oh, this guy needs a day off, so he'll be the DH. Oh, this guy hasn't got enough at bats. Oh, we'll put him at DH. Well, we could get the third baseman off his feet. We'll put him at DH. They don't have a focused plan, a consistent plan to like basically say, well, and I'm being sarcastic and I apologize, but it's like where you look at it like, hey, if you have a designated hitter, it means you need someone who will hit rather than just kind of like dumping anybody in there. And it's like they got to commit to a full-fledged hitter who will upgrade the production there because it's absolutely embarrassing. 2 RBIs the whole season from their DHs.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, and look, I'm trying to think about it this way. Like, clearly Baker would be the one that wears it here, and I don't mean to pick on him. It's not been very long. He's adjusting to being a part-time player. He's always been an everyday guy in the minors. He's getting on base against lefties, but he's not hitting for power, and that's really what he is. But here's the other counter to this. Pozo's hitting, and on StatCast, it's not fluky. He's getting what he deserves. And Pajes is your defensive guy, and Herrera is a problem defensively. And I don't know that I want to say Herrera should be a full-time DH now. I think there's still room to catch here and there and do some of that, and maybe long-term get some first base in for when Wilson Contreras is no longer under contract or whatever. But your best overall lineup might be one of those guys behind the plate with Herrera at DH, counting for both offense and defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
You don't get that's gonna probably come at the expense of Alec Burleson, but Burleson isn't contributing. If Burleson is contributing, well, a lot of those contributions would be coming from the DH spot, so we wouldn't be having this conversation in the first place.
Well, I mean, I threw this out there. I know you wrote about it, Bernie, in your piece today. By the way, great stuff. There's a lot in there. I was mining for things we could throw into here, but like this one in particular. So since the All-Star break last year, Alec Burleson's hitting .241. with a .310 slug and 300 plus at bats, 9 doubles, 4 home runs. That's basically 3+ months. That's that last part of July, August, September, March, April together. That's a long time.
Yeah. He hasn't had a home run going back to last August. He hasn't had a home run in his last 216 at bats. I mean, I know he's not a 40 home run guy, but we saw that he has power. He showed it the first half last season. Yeah, I'm not down on the person, but I've kind of had my fill of the whole Burleson experience because he just continues to get himself out. And they just have to take action. You know, they really do. And I think what we've all basically agreed on here is the same thing. And I hope the Cardinals agree on that too.
Yeah, and again, not talking about this being something that has to happen immediately, but Herrera's coming back. Yeah. It's not going to be long, I would think, by the Pittsburgh series, right? I mean, assuming he recovers from today and he doesn't have any negative impact, you would think he's going to be back in a couple days.
He's catching today, so he's played one game there where he hit a home run as the DH. He's catching today, and there's a scenario where he's here this weekend. I think you're probably right, Kevin. If I had to predict, I'd say Monday is probably when it's likely to see him. But we're within 2, 3, 4 days of Juan Herrera being back on the roster.
By the way, Joel Pozo has 329 AAA games, and he's got an 888 OPS. So he hit at AAA too.
It was a great pickup by the Cardinals.
Really astute.
Credit where it's due.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very astute.
All right, we got more baseball to go. One more segment. Before we do any of that, Bernie, tell us about your friends at Saliga.
I'm really happy to do that. Thank you. Saliga Heating and Cooling is now a Daikin heating and air conditioning equipment dealer, and they're using the latest refrigerant that you can use in heating and cooling systems that basically are up to the epitome of like modern standards as far as not having these things called forever chemicals as part of it. So I wanted to explain that. But listen, Saliga Heating and Cooling has been, the same family has owned it since 1927. And Dan Saliga, the fourth generation family owner operator, they're still doing the great things that generations of St. Louis families have come to expect and love from Saliga. And they're still offering free estimates and financing options. They still have the best and most trustworthy customer service in St. Louis. I should know, we should know, because we've been, calling Saliga for 16, 17 years, and they are great. And the last thing is I always try to tell people, or I encourage people, I say, take a look at the Priority Club. It's a maintenance program. It works great. It's worth every nickel. They were here 10 days ago, roughly, as part of the regularly scheduled maintenance visit. And they found something that was minor, and they fixed it on the spot. And it could have turned into something a lot more expensive, but the maintenance program caught it. And so that way we avoided what I think could have been a really big repair bill in a year or so. Anyway, so go to SaligaHeatingCooling.com, look at the Priority Club, SaligaHeatingCooling.com.
Hi, I'm Andrew Suntrup. Here at Suntrup Ford, Our family-owned and operated dealerships have been proudly servicing the St. Louis area for over 30 years by always providing aggressive pricing, a massive inventory selection, and exceptional customer service. Buying from Suntrup Ford means you get the best vehicle at the best price. Visit Suntrup Ford Westport or Suntrup Ford Kirkwood today, or check us out online at suntrupford.com. And don't forget to ask about our lifetime powertrain loyalty program. Save more at Suntrup Ford.
Spring is here. Time to have your valuable trees inspected by Gamma Tree to enhance the beauty and safety of your trees. I'm Tim Gamma.
I'm Tom Gamma. Don't trust your trees to just anyone. Call the pros at Gamma Tree, now in our 71st year.
Our talented staff of certified arborists can survey your trees to determine their needs, whether pruning, fertilizing, pest control, or removals at the highest level of professionalism.
Knowledge and quality are hallmarks of our reputation. Call Gamma Tree today or visit us at gammatree.com.
Your trees deserve the best care.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
Welcome back to RX Watch. This alert is disturbing.
Right. A while back, we learned that companies like Johnson & Johnson use a mineral called talc in baby powder and other products.
And studies show that talc, when used for feminine hygiene, can cause ovarian cancer.
Now listen to this. RX Watch has learned that the talc they use is being mined in China.
Right, and talc mined in China contains heavy metal contaminants like chromium and magnesium, which are known to cause cancer. But China doesn't care.
So China gets the jobs and we get contaminated talc in our baby powder.
And ovarian cancer.
Right. With their specialized tests, the medical team at Onder Law can help you know if your ovarian cancer was caused by talc.
Onder Law has helped women for years with free and confidential consultation. You need to call Onder Law's pharma attorneys at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
That's 1-800-RX-WATCH, or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we still have this crash eastbound 70 at Earth City. It's on the right shoulder, but there's still heavy traffic eastbound 70 from the Blanchette Bridge through Earth City right now. Eastbound after that, you're okay. Eastbound 64, that's all the one we have the jam. It's jammed approaching 94 all the way to the Boone Bridge in that work zone. Then it's slow east of Lindbergh backed up to about Big Bend. South 170 busy at the Parkway. Eastbound 64 also still showing a slowdown through Vandeventer. Northbound 55 just kind of bogged down. Bayless to Weber downtown. Eastbound 70 east of Salisbury is backed up onto westbound 44, which is jammed past the Poplar. Westbound McKinley Bridge jammed back to the Illinois side. Westbound 5570 west of 203 is stop and go across the Poplar Street Bridge as well. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, we got a few minutes left on the Redbird Rush Hour, and I thought we could talk a little bit about Mason Wynn for a minute or two here, because while the overall numbers kind of look like the total numbers from last year. In fact, if you look at OPS, it's almost identical, right? 733 so far this year, 730 last year. But one thing I've noted, guys, and I want to do this because this is me complimenting Mason Wynn. Obviously, the defense continues to be elite. He's one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. But one thing that he's done, and I think it has had an impact on his strikeout rate going up, and it's had an impact also, though, on the walk rate going up quite a bit, as a matter of fact. Last year, his walk rate was 6.4%. Now it's 9%, which is a good thing, but he's chasing less. His chase rate is now above average, and I think that's a big deal. I think that's a sign that he might have some more offense coming, and I mean soon.
I agree. He's a smart guy. And we know that he'll work. He's very analytical minded. He's obsessed with his own performance, and he looks at stuff as indicators of what he needs to work on. So I like his chances of having a really good year the rest of the way.
Here's something that's a little bit interesting, though, and it's a tiny sample size, so we'll see how it all plays out. Over his last 9 games, the offensive numbers obviously are very good.
Phenomenal,
average, 914 OPS. But in that time, as his offensive numbers have started to improve, Kevin, the walks have actually started to come back. He only has 3 walks in those last 9 games. So to me, what that might be saying is that when he was struggling offensively, he was at least trying to do something, and he was able to lift that walk rate and found his way to get on base a little bit. Right. But now that he's swinging it a little bit more, he
making better contact. Yeah, right. I mean, it makes sense, right? When you're actually seeing it better and hitting it better, you're going to, I wouldn't say automatically walk less, but I think, that reduced chase rate can have that effect of leading to a few more strikeouts. Because you're not putting a ball weakly in play, but it also shows you that he's doing more with the ones that he is hitting. And, I don't think the average exit velo for him is ever going to be like this huge deal, but it's better than it was last year. Last year, his average exit velo was 87 miles an hour. It's 88.2 now. And that ability to cut back on chase allows for the higher quality of contact, even if it occasionally means less. But what we want over time is for that not chasing to actually raise all of that stuff up. But for the time being, I think you can see there's a little up and a little down to it, but I think it's a trend in the right direction for a guy that has a tremendous skill set.
I definitely agree. And sometimes maybe I thought, like, watching him last year, he was kind of caught in between.
Yeah.
Because he can hit for power, but he's not a finished power hitter, if that's a term.
Agreed.
And yet when they have him at the top of the lineup, listen, like either hitting first or second, you need a guy that's also going to get on base a lot. So I'm not saying it's like an identity crisis or something, but I think he's kind of like a little bit in both worlds, right?
Yeah. And I do, honestly, we talked a lot on the Gas House Gang. There's the three of us and Tom, and we all kind of ganged up on Tom a little bit for the leadoff thing for Mason Wynn, jokingly, of course. But I actually like Wynn in that spot because you have Nootbaar getting on 40% of the time. So you have a guy behind him that can put the ball in play, that has some pop. And by the way, is fast enough to stay out of double plays when he hits the ball on the ground. Not every time, but certainly at least some of the time. And having that guy between Nootbaar and Donovan, there's some opportunities for him to do some things, and I kind of like that spot.
Definitely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Matt, there have been been studies done that like, having a guy behind you hitting isn't always helpful, but it's helpful to that guy when you're on base or when you're doing things.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Donovan's probably the guy that you want hitting behind you if you're anybody on this team, just based off his ability to, if it's not Nootbaar, obviously. Right. I don't like the lineup today. I don't know if I love Wilson Contreras in the 5 spot. That seems a little
I'd
low
move him
for
up.
him.
I'd move him up to 4 because Arenado's fine in the 5.
Right, but I mean we're getting really picky at that.
I know, I get it, but I mean, we're not. And again, none of these are crises, right? We're not talking about fire the manager. It's not that. We're not holding any pitchforks. It's just kind of figuring out what we like. Because look, we talked all off season about how much we'd love to see Newt in the leadoff spot. How's that worked out?
Pretty good.
It's been, I was looking at his stats compared to Matt Carpenter. They moved him in the hole in 2013, the number 1 hole. And real quick, among guys that have like a couple hundred plate appearances since 2013 as a leadoff man, Nootbaar or Carpenter are 1 and 2 in every category. So he's been the second best leadoff guy that they've had in place since Matt Carpenter was really great for about 5 years.
Yeah.
His career numbers, his career numbers as a leadoff hitter are exceptional.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff. Boys, that was fun, man. This hour goes so fast, but I love it. Bernie, appreciate you hanging with us. We love it, and we'll look forward to talking to you again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Matt, have a great weekend, and you got Ben Boyd behind you. Go ahead and smack him. He's sitting there right behind you. There. Yeah. Obviously, Matt's got the pregame.
Tell him get out of the studio.
Yeah, tell him to quit messing it up
because we got to get out of the studio.
We got to get to the news, Ben. So shut up and get out of the way.
Put a hat on that head. Nobody wants to look at that.
Too much glare. Boys, you guys have great
weekends.
My
guy. I love him.
We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Baseball coming up after the top of the hour news on KMOX.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com.